Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and as of today, the New York Knicks are the best NBA basketball team in New York. They have a better record than the Brooklyn Nets as of this morning, and there's actually some good things going on with the Knicks. This is not necessarily fluky. I'm not optimistic about their ability to, be an above 500 team for the entire season, but there's some good things happening in New York, and this lends itself towards this prediction that I have for 2021. That the Knicks are going to be a competent basketball organization by the time the summer of 2021 is over. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So what's going right here for the Knicks? There are some things we can talk about that aren't going right or maybe aren't sustainable, but what are the good things that are happening here? Well, just baseline here, they look like a competent basketball team. When you watch them play, you're like, oh, these guys know how to play. They play hard. They defend, they're relatively unselfish, and, they're pretty efficient with their threes. And all those things lends itself towards a positive record to this point. And again, a better record than the Brooklyn Nets through 7 games. And they've done well, especially considering they've been missing some key guys. I mean, Dennis Smith Jr., Austin Rivers, Alec Burks, they've all missed time early. Obi Toppin has barely played at all. He's a guy that looked good in the preseason, someone that I thought could potentially win the Rookie of the Year. Has barely played in the regular season. And this lends itself towards a really unusual way in which they've been good to start the year. Because if I had told you before the season started, the Knicks are going to be, 4-3 through 7 games, above 500 through the first handful of games of the year, you would have thought, okay, that's because RJ Barrett took a leap and he's been awesome. And, Mitchell Robinson is really, really good. And the young guys are kind of carrying the team and they're figuring out a rotation. And Tom Thibodeau, has really coached up the young guys. You would have thought that that would be the reason why the Knicks would be a competent basketball team to begin the season. But that hasn't been the case. RJ's actually been relatively disappointing from an efficiency standpoint, especially he'll get there. He's still young. I still believe in him, but it's not like, he's been the catalyst for this start. He's been fine, but he hasn't really been great. But still, this, again, is a team above 500 with wins against Milwaukee, Indiana, and Atlanta, all of which have been teams that have been pretty good to start the year. So what's happening here? Why are they so good? Well, Julius Randle has been playing out of his mind, for one thing. I mean, he's working on 4 straight double-doubles. He had a triple-double the other night, and he has just been amazing. I mean, he's a scoring threat. He's a great rebounder. He's been facilitating. He's in great shape. Looks like back to peak athletic Julius Randle. He looks incredible. And that's something that I did not expect. I basically was not even counting him as part of the plan moving forward. I was counting him as a trade asset, play him up, trade him, and then figure it out moving forward afterwards. But he's been a real player and a legit guy, and that has been really, really surprising. Now, the turnover stuff needs to be better for him. He almost, in that game that he had a triple-double, he almost had a quadruple-double with turnovers. He had 9, so that stuff needs to be better if he's going to be, facilitating and creating and stuff out of the post and ball screens and things like that. But with the exception of that, I mean, Julius Randle has been an all-star, all-NBA caliber guy to begin the season, which is kind of ridiculous. And all jokes aside, he has looked really, really good. Now, there are some bad things for the team as a whole. The offense isn't great. It's bottom 10 in the league in terms of offensive rating. That's kind of to be expected given the roster. Like I said, unless RJ's great, unless, Toppin comes back and is really good, they're generally going to struggle to score at times. I don't think anybody is necessarily surprised by that. But defensively, I mean, they're a top half of the league team on the defensive end of the floor, and that's been their calling card at this point, which is interesting given how young they are, but it's also, not necessarily surprising given the fact that Tom Thibodeau is the coach. And, I think now is the time that we get to the Tom Thibodeau of it all, because I was skeptical about them bringing in Tom Thibodeau. I'm still not convinced. It's a good start, but I'm still not convinced it was the right hire. But he's definitely gotten these guys to play hard. He's brought a level of professionalism and a level of competence that this franchise and this organization has desperately needed on the court. And I think he's done a really, really good job of that. We'll see if it continues. But the other thing to keep in mind here, and part of this is because of the injury stuff to Toppin and Burks, DSJ, Austin Rivers, the 2 leading minute per game guys in the entire league right now are RJ Barrett and Julius Randle as of this morning. Those 2 guys are playing more minutes per game than anybody else in the league. And that's, again, a Tom Thibodeau staple. And hopefully that number, those numbers start to come down a little bit because, they get their players back and they have some other options. They don't have to throw those guys out there that many minutes because you don't want to start running guys on the ground and then players get upset. And that's the typical Thibodeau thing that happens, right? So that's something to keep an eye on. But I think overall, Thibodeau's been fine. I think there's still a possibility that it's not the right guy for them and that these players turn on him eventually. I don't know. I'm still in wait and see mode on Thibodeau, but the minutes thing is definitely something to keep an eye on. So overall, is this something that's going to hold up for the entire season? I think it's unlikely. I mean, they've definitely been better and more competent than I thought that they would be, but I don't think necessarily that this is going to be like a 500 team for the entire season. I think it would be cool. I think it'd be fun if they were, but I'm not a believer as of yet. But the scenario that they're in right now is pretty ideal. They're 4-3. People are talking about them. There's positive thing going towards the New York Knicks in basketball, right? And Randle is making himself into, if they want to, a relatively valuable trade piece. If, they start to slip a little bit, but his stats are still up there and a team is interested, they can trade him, get more assets. There's still upside on this roster in terms of getting better throughout the year as well, whether it be getting healthier with those perimeter guys or Obi Toppin coming back and looking really, really good. And you're going into an offseason in which it looks to be a strong draft class, and you have 3 first-round picks, a Clippers pick, a Mavs pick, and your own in the 2021 offseason. So all those things are really, really good things for the Knicks. And again, it lends itself well towards this prediction that I had before the season that by the offseason of 2021, by the time it's over, the Knicks are going to be a competent basketball organization. Now, do I think they're going to go out and get any kind of big-time free agents? No, it's unlikely because there's really not going to be many of those guys available. Maybe they put themselves in play for someone like Oladipo if he wants to leave and they're interested, and whatever the case may be, I don't know. But this kind of start for the Knicks specifically, it can't be a bad thing, right? Putting some good basketball things around the Knicks name is a positive thing for them. And it's something that we've seen over the last handful of years is that, whether you want to be a free agency destination, whether you want to be a place guys want to be traded to, whatever the case may be, it's not enough to just have cap space and interesting young guys. Like, you have to put a level of confidence on the floor and within the organization that allows players to believe that that is the place that they want to go and that is a good place to be. And the Knicks are much, much closer to that threshold of competence that allows other players to really want to go there and be a New York Knick than they were at the beginning of the season. That is a huge, huge step in the right direction. Ideally, again, I know I'm a Nets fan, but I want the Knicks to be good. The NBA is more fun when the Knicks are good. So ideally, they continue this level of competence they've had in the front office. They had a good offseason and on the floor as well. Again, they're going to slip. I don't expect them to be a 500 team. I don't expect them to be in the hunt, for the 8th seed throughout the year. Maybe they make a play-in game, but this record, in my opinion, is going to slip. But at the end of the day, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. If they're relevant but not great, they keep a relatively high pick, they've got multiple firsts, they maybe get something in exchange for Julius Randle, and then they go from there. Hopefully RJ Barrett has, starts to pick it up and has a better, end of the year than what he's had to start the season. Mitchell Robinson keeps looking good, and then you figure it out from there. Really good things happening for the Knicks. I'm weirdly proud of them. I don't know, there's this weird feeling about the Knicks right now that it's like, wow, I actually started to believe a little bit in them, and they're starting to come through a little bit. So we'll see if it continues, but good things happening right now for the New York Knicks on the basketball court and otherwise. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. I upload twice a day, every day, all throughout the NBA season, so it's a great place for consistent NBA content, and you can leave a like rating on the video as well to help me out, help get it out to more people on YouTube as well. And you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen. There's a link tree down in the description below. With all those things said, if you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.